Okay guys, for our next project, we're gonna do coil vases. And so I'm just gonna quickly show you how to make a coil vase, just the beginning steps, and then you guys should grasp it pretty quick and then take off with it with your own ideas. So, you guys know how to roll a slab out. I've just wedged my clay, took a rolling pin, rolled it out. This is a good thickness. It's not too thin, it's not too thick. It's a good place for you guys to have your base be, because if you get it too thin, your base is gonna be very fragile, and if it's too thick, it's gonna take forever to dry. So, once you get your slab rolled out, we do have more size requirements, so it has to be 4 inches wide. So the one I've started here is 4 3/4 about, so 4 inches wide. And then it is going to be a minimum of 8 inches tall. So that needs to be this tall. So I'm gonna make a mark. I know this is my 4-inch mark. So I'm gonna go a little bit bigger than my 4-inch mark, just so I know that I'm giving myself enough room. And remember, clay shrinks in the kiln. So the bigger you start with, it will get smaller as you go. Okay, so this is my shape. I'm not gonna worry about making mine a perfect circle because I don't really want my vase to be a perfect circle. I kind of want it to be more organic. So like, I'm okay with this shape that I have here. So if you're worried about making a perfect circle, you might get something like this as like a guide for your shape. So I have my base here. And the next thing I need to do is I need to roll a coil out. So this is a coil, it's like a snake. And so I'm gonna get some clay, just smush it up in my hands. I'm gonna wedge it a little bit. Okay, so then I'm gonna kind of flatten it and squeeze it so that it gets kind of like a tube shape. And then once I have it, I'm taking my fingers, both hands are spread apart, and I'm going forward and back. I'm not doing this. I'm going all the way through, all the way back, all the way through, all the way back. So I'm gonna repeat this, I'm gonna repeat this process. If it starts to get cubey, like blocky, just twist and roll. So once you do this long enough, you will get coil. This is a good size for a coil. It's not very, very thick. Like we said about the vase, it's not too thin. The thicker that your coils are, the stronger that your vase will be, but if it's too thick, again, that's an issue with like dry time and things like that. So I have a coil here, and I have my base that I made. So I need to score and slip these two together. This is the most important score and slip that you can do, because if you don't get a good connection at the base, the whole thing's gonna fall apart. So I'm scoring my coil and my circle base. And then I'm going to get some slip. And I'm gonna be really generous with it because, again, I do not want this to come apart. Okay, so my coil side goes on my coil side. I'm gonna wrap that around. Okay, and my coil is a little short, so for future reference, I would need to make that longer. But for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna press it down. Press it down. And then I'm gonna meet those two coils together, smooth them over. I'm gonna wipe all this extra slip out. And I'm smoothing the bottom. Wherever I scored that I didn't end up needing, I'm smoothing that out. Then if you have any extra, if your base is too big, you can trim that now. Remember, if you gave yourself extra inches, then you know that you have some wiggle room to trim that clay off. So now, this is what it looks like. It's very messy at the moment, and we want it to be like this, very smooth. We're gonna smooth out the inside to where there's no creases, and we won't be able to see the coils in the end. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to smooth my base up with that coil, and I've pressed that coil in so that I know that those two have a good connection. And I'm also smoothing the inside. So these should be, you shouldn't be able to see any creasing, any lines from your coil. It should look like one piece of clay. Okay, so once you have yours all smoothed out, this should be the product. And you are going to, I have maybe an inch of clay right here, probably not even. Okay, I have 1 inch. So I need to make this 8 times taller. So I need to add several coils. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll come back and show you guys kind of some tricks for design work and things like that. Okay guys, another thing that's really important to know is that my coils that I'm adding are the same thickness as the previous coils, and I'm scoring and slipping in between all of my layers, not just that first layer that we made, but all of my layers. If they are not all scored and slipped, you'll try to pick it up and it'll just break apart on you. So all of my layers are scored and slipped. I'm pressing in and down. And then if I have an extra long coil like that, I can just break that off and then smooth it over. So again, I'm just smoothing everything together. If you are wanting to make your vase come in and then go out, or just go out, if you position your coils, like if I want to go in, then I'm going to kind of pinch my coils in with my hands. And then my next coil, I'm going to make a little bit smaller so that it kind of starts to encourage the cinching, because as they go in, they'll get smaller, 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 smaller. And then if you were to go back out, they would begin to get bigger. If you're wanting to flare out, then it'd be the opposite. You would make slightly bigger coils and flare outward. So just keep that in mind for design elements. However you guys are wanting to make this vase, it's just important that you smooth out all your connections to make it as strong as possible, and you're scoring and slipping every coil that you add on there.